Last time I spoke to a similar high-powered IT group, I went to the men's room prior to my presentation, and I met one of the board of directors there who was, I thought, responsible for inviting me, and I asked what I thought was an obvious question. How did I get invited to speak to this distinguished, prestigious group from MIS? And this individual looked up at the ceiling, threw up his hands, and said, "Who knows? Maybe ethnic or geographic balance." Well, if any of you feel that way, let me disabuse you of that notion, because my real name is J. Wellington Cartwright III, which I have changed for business purposes to Herbert Cohen. I myself was born on Kona, on the Big Island, not too far from here, orphaned at a young age, adopted by Vietnamese boat people, and early on they moved our family to the mainland, where I grew up in Appalachia playing Little League polo and spent my weekends riding to the hounds. Thereafter, our family migrated to the Northeast, to metropolitan New York City, to a neighborhood called Bensonhurst, now known for its hospitality to strangers. And it is all of this, I guess, by way of my own eclectic background that got me involved in a subject that all of you know a great deal about, and that's the subject of negotiations. I say that because as end users, project managers, hardware vendors, finance, accounting managers, key technical staff, life for you tends to be an endless series of negotiations. You spend one heck of a lot of time preparing for and attending meetings. You live in the world where the buzzwords are strategic alliances and partnerships. And you know that in our world today, technical competency does not register in the absence of interpersonal skill. So if you're spending time selling your ideas, trying to influence others, you're negotiating for resources, budgets, prioritization of projects, you're negotiating with respect to deadlines, expectations, or accurate information, all of you are spending a great deal of time playing this game. And please note that I refer to it as a game because I'd like you to see it that way. Because a game is where you care, really care, but not that much. Now, why do I say that? Because who's the worst person that you negotiate for? Yourself. I believe that's not only true in your case, I know it's true in my case. I spend a great deal of my time negotiating on behalf of others. In fact, to be honest with you, that's how I really earn a substantial living. I try to have as my clients very wealthy entrepreneurs, large corporations with big dollars to spend. I operate on their behalf in deal making. And the way I am compensated, I get a meager, a modest percentage of an enormous deal. This works out well for myself and my family, and so I must be pretty good at doing that. Yet when I negotiate on behalf of myself, I am close to inept. I am pathetic. Now, why is that the case? Do you believe it's because I am lacking in self-esteem? Let me assure you, that is not so. I like me one heck of a lot. In fact, if I could be more effective for myself and less effective for you, I would prefer it that way. But in truth, I am better for you. Why? Because I don't even know you. You know what I mean? I care about you, but not that much. And that attitude affects my altitude, it affects my perspective. See, every one of you in this room know that the single best way to make a good deal is to convey to the other side, hey, I could live without this deal. Indeed, as the great negotiator, Kenny Rogers once said, you got to know when to hold them, and once in a while be prepared to fold them and walk away. And if the other side believes you just might fold them and walk away, they won't let you fold them and walk away. And so the operative attitude for success and satisfaction in all of life's negotiations is to really care, but not that much. See, what all of you are going to be doing as we hit the millennium and go beyond the millennium is you're going to be involved in solving problems. You're going to try to come up with creative solutions to differences, to conflict that's all around us, which very often means that if you're going to build long-term successful relationships, the best solution is not necessarily your initial way, because that makes them a loser, or their initial way, which makes you a loser. But long-term, mutually profitable relationships are based upon creative third-way alternatives, innovations that provide for joint gain. And so the best way to come up with those innovative solutions that provide benefit for both sides is to drain the emotional content from life's strategic interactions. We've got to be less adversarial, less me against you. You've got to look at situations and go, hey, this is a blip on the radar screen of eternity. This is a walnut in the batter of life. I'm caring, but not that much. See, what I'm saying to you here this afternoon is that negotiating is really a game. But the game is best played as one of addition and not subtraction or exclusions. That's what successful, satisfying relationships should be predicated upon. Now, what negotiating is all about is really voluntary decision-making. See, unlike the great growth industry of our time, litigation, negotiation in the final analysis requires two people saying yes. Now, the problem is that they don't start out saying yes. One starts out saying, no, I'm not doing that. What are you, crazy? Forget it. No way. Or they end up saying never. Or they're at best reluctant. And so how do you get that person to go from no to yes? Occasionally people will say to me, Herb, have you ever encountered a situation where two people start out saying yes? And the answer to that is no. I mean, if two people are saying yes, why would they hire me? I mean, right now you don't have two people in Chicago and one says, I think your business is worth $8 million. The other says, I concur. I think we have a deal here. Let's shake on that. Give this guy Cohen a call on the East Coast. Bring him out here. Give him a percentage of the action. I don't get those calls. I don't know who does, but not me. Let me tell you when they call me in. Well, one person in Chicago says, I think your business is worth $8 million. The other says, I'm offended by that chintzy, niggling, paltry, and pathetic offer. My grandfather started this company. This company is worth $80 million. The only way to even consider what you said is if you threaten to tear the tongue from the roof of my mouth. If you threaten to rip the eyeballs from my skull. If you threaten to maim, murder, and destroy my family, whom I love dearly, then I might consider it, providing that were a viable threat. But as far as you're concerned right now, shove it. The person to whom that is said to will invariably call my office. And the way they put it is, you know, we have a slight problem involving differences here in Chicago. Maybe Herb could come out here and help us facilitate this matter. And Herb, quite foolishly, goes out there a hell of a lot of times. Now, when I arrive in Chicago, I do not stride off the airplane saying, hi there, top negotiator from the East, ready to take over. In fact, to be honest with you, this is about as good as I ever look.